So you'll have to hold this.
Yeah.
It's not too big of an ask, is it?
Okay.
Thank you. And we're already recording. So,
All right.
So I was going to say, don't say anything, but please do say anything you want. That would be perfect.
I've no filter.
That's why I wanted to talk to you, because I figured that would be the case. How much
Why?
of the... Well, there's the Richard E. Grant... can we just say Richard Grant? Or do we say Richard E. Grant?
Whatever you want.
I assume that was because there was another Richard Grant in the Union or something
It
like
was.
that. Because there's the persona of you, the bad boy. Sorry to be cliche, but this outrageous kind of guy.
Yeah.
That's what you see often on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Not always. There's been a number of many exceptions, but people know you from certain roles.
Right.
And then there's this very subdued, laid-back guy I'm looking at right now. You're a subdude.
A subdude. What are you?
Remember that? There was a band called the Subdudes.
Was there?
Yeah, in America. I think they were American. I'm yeah, definitely. I was very shy though, but I don't want to talk about that. I was very shy. I kind of came out of that, but I had to force myself a little bit. Were you ever shy? You probably never were shy.
I have been cursed or blessed, probably both, of being hyper curious and a nosy Parker. So I've always been told that ever since I was a little boy, I've asked too many questions, and so that has persisted. I'm now 60. Almost
Blah, blah, blah.
62, and it's the same old story.
Yeah.
So if you ask a lot of questions, maybe it's a way of subverting people talking about yourself.
Right.
So
That's true. Yes.
I think that's what happened. And I had a nervous breakdown when I was 42, and this psychoanalyst said to me, I kept asking him questions, and he pointed this out to me, so I'd never thought of it before. He said, you divert attention from yourself by asking about other people. And I said, but I am genuinely interested in other people. That's why I love the job that I do, because you constantly are investigating other people's behavior and their lives.
Sure.
And he said, yeah, but it's a way of diverting from yourself.
You genuinely also want to divert from yourself, so... right? So if you genuinely want to divert attention from yourself, you're going to genuinely build a curiosity about others.
Yeah, but I think
both can coexist.
Yes, it's an innate curiosity, because I find other people's lives much more interesting than my own. So it's not being disingenuous or self-consciously thinking, I've got to ask somebody about them because God forbid they ask about me.
Okay, maybe when you were 15, but
Yeah.
now you're 60 plus or what have you. You must understand intellectually your life is pretty interesting, or again the persona.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, got okay. Here I am. I'm 50. So I'm in my mid 50s now, and came up in the 80s. I started going to films on my own.
Yeah,
and I remember taking the lovely Rebecca Walkowitz just to the Quad or the cinema, one of the village cinemas, to see Withnail I. And not sure exactly what I was watching at the time, but knowing that this was something utterly amazing,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was that has become, for like this generation of guys like myself, and hopefully women, a seminal, film for a lot of people. So this guy that you're playing in this movie, which his name is Jack Hock.
Yeah.
Is that right? He could be like an older version of Withnail, maybe like if he decided to clean up and a little bit, well, maybe that's the wrong term, but move to America, do well for a while, and then things kind of soured on some level because he's too much of a party animal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, they share being alcoholics.
Yeah.
Although I think that's Withnail was an entitled egomaniac and very, very selfish, where it seems that Jack Hock is somebody who is Labrador-like in that, he'll try and lick anybody into submission to get a drink off them or friendship or a place to stay, or he doesn't have entitlement syndrome.
That's true. Right, yeah. I don't know how this part or this script, excuse me, was presented to you, how it came to you, but what did you make of the character initially? Did you think, this is...
I was called in November by my agent, who said, you have 24 hours to read this script. And I said, what, it's like Mission Impossible, the thing's going to implode? And she laughed and she said, no. I said, well, who's dropped dead or pulled out? She said, don't concern yourself with that.
Right.
Just read it and you'll see why they need a decision very soon. So I did, and when I saw that it was Melissa McCarthy playing Lee Israel and that Marielle Heller, whose work I'd admired on Diary of a Teenage Girl, was directing it, I thought, right, okay, this is
quality.
This is really smart.
Yeah.
And it dealt so cleverly and movingly with friendship that I thought that it was irresistible, because it really does go through the A to Z vicissitudes of friendship, as far as I can understand, because you have the honeymoon period at the beginning when they first re-encounter each other in the Julius bar, then loyalty that follows, inevitable betrayal, and then the final semi-reconciliation at the end when she needs him and he's already dying of AIDS. And I suppose what it had for me was all the tenderness, poignancy, and pain of what friendships can entail. And the movie references, when I read the script, because I always try and find what does it remind me of, and the relationship. There were two movies. One was The Odd Couple, Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon,
sure,
who were at odds with each other, and you think on paper these two people shouldn't really be cohabiting or friends, but they are. And the other one was obviously Dustin Hoffman playing Rizzo and John Voight playing the hustler in Midnight Cowboy. Mm-hmm. Because again, they're people who are on the fringes of society, struggling to make it in New York, failing upwards, but there is great friendship between them. And so that's what it struck me as.
That sort of kinship or some sort of deep bond or connection, right?
Yeah,
that they
and the
share,
loneliness that they share, even though they're living in a city surrounded by millions of people.
Right.
And that's the thing that my daughter said to me when she saw the film for the first time with a bunch of her friends, and she's 30, that the loneliness of people was the thing that made a really big impact on them when they watched it.
Interesting, yeah. That's definitely the true for Ratso and Joe Buck. Was that his name?
Joe Buck and Ratso,
Joe Buck
exactly.
And Ratso. I'm walking here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I watched that again recently, and it's got to be the fifth or sixth time I've sat there. And this time I was moved to tears by Voight's, just something Voight did, like at midpoint. Just there's something so touching about his performance, But I've seen it, and the more you see something, you kind of grow, a natural distance occurs because of the familiarity, and you can anticipate, naturally what's going to happen. So to get back and really be in the moment of a film, the fifth or sixth or what time you've seen it, you really have to be present for it.
It really stands the testament of time too, don't you think?
If you can still be moved by it.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Right,
yeah.
And discover new things even, of course, each time.
Yeah.
Was this character, did you have an opportunity to read the novel beforehand?
I did, and
I'm not the novel, the memoir, excuse me.
Memoirs. I was so disappointed in that I thought this is, I read the screenplay and then I thought, okay, they've concertinaed these lives and the story from a book, but then the actual memoir it's 124 pages. It's very slight.
Oh, I see.
And it's written entirely eccentrically from Lee's point of view, and the description that it actually gives of Jack and what information she gives is so scant that she says, he died of AIDS in 1994. He was 47 years old. He was from Portland, blonde, tall, had been in jail for 2 years for holding up a taxi driver at knife point, arguing about the fare, and he had a short cigarette holder because he was a chain smoker and thought that would stop him getting lung cancer. Other than that, there's very little. What you get is between the lines where she admits that where she thought that once she wasn't able to fence these letters, she'd been rumbled by the FBI. A letter that she thought might get $600, he would come back with $2,000. So I gleaned from that he obviously, he didn't know who Fanny Bryce was. He wasn't any great intellect, but he had street smarts about him and charm, and that he could go and convince people to be fleeced of their money.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, that was the key to my understanding of what he must have been able to do.
There was no malice in this character either.
No,
So the
no
fleecing
malice.
is not about the pleasure of... this is actually, Jack wants to be your friend because of
Yeah.
that loneliness you mentioned, for one thing. And maybe just his innate friendliness. You
Yeah,
know?
that's what
He
I said
really
about
brought
the
a
Labrador.
warmth to him.
He just,
Yeah. Yes.
he's also the exterminator is not prepared to come in to clean up her apartment because the stench is so bad.
Right.
And he, in an act of real friendship, he
Yes.
sticks lavatory paper up his nostrils, but he goes under the bed and he clears all the cat shit out of the place.
Yeah, right.
And that's an act of friendship that's, nobody else is willing to do for Lee.
I didn't understand. I really just thought the place was a flea-bitten kind of place. I didn't know how messy she was until that scene. Because you don't see that much of the apartment. It looks like a lived-in New York
Yeah.
typical apartment
Yeah.
of somebody who's lived there for a really long time.
Yeah, but you can't smell it.
But she doesn't. No, well, yeah. And there's only one cat. Usually, there's like 5 or 6 in a scenario like that at least.
Yeah.
And then, so the flies, which I thought that's unusual instead of a cockroach or something. But then, when you came in and your expression was. I don't know how many times you did that scene, but it was right on, spot on. And but it's interesting they chose. This was a guy from, you said, like the Pacific Northwest or something.
Yeah,
like he was the original, the actual person that you play, and yet they went with someone very, from a very different circumstance. You didn't try to do an American accent or anything.
Well,
like
Mariella, I hadn't read the book before I accepted the job.
Right.
I'd read the screenplay,
Sure.
and the screenplay identified him as an English person.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So
Interesting.
when I said to Marielle, I said, okay, he's English, but do I play this with an American accent? She said, no, you played in your own accent. So that's obviously the decision that she made before I'd even met her.
If you played a British man with an American accent, that would have been a new way. That you would see in a bar in the 80s or 90s. As a matter of fact, in the early 90s, I did go to this bar near where I worked at the time in Flatiron downtown a bit, and there was a British artist guy who would come in named Nick. Very unusual for a British man to be called Nick, but. Anyway, and he would come in and he's just the biggest character. And I think it was the last days where you could actually smoke
in a bar.
Possibly. Yeah. And, but, there's something, he was so larger than life, you couldn't help but be drawn to him. And your character, Jack, reminded me of that. But he's a bit more of a kind of the guy that would sidle up and try to insinuate himself in a very friendly way. But as soon as you saw, the two of you had a real chemistry there that was something I recognized. Did you expect to have that with her? Did you meet or know her before this?
I was very worried about that because I thought the success of my relationship with her was predicated on us having a real connection. So it was mooted that we have a week of rehearsal, but it was low budget, and that never happened. And Melissa, I came to New York on a Wednesday for costume fitting, and we started shooting on a Monday. And so she then, I said to Mari, when is Melissa getting here? And she said, oh, she's only coming on Friday. And I said, please God, I'm so paranoid, I can't start work on Monday if I haven't even met her. So I said, could we possibly just talk through the script or just have half an hour? And it turns out Melissa felt exactly the same. So we spent half a day and then had a meal together. And from that, within very, very nanoseconds, I realized that I had a real connection with her. And I don't know whether it's because I grew up in a very, very tiny town in the smallest country in the Southern Hemisphere, in Swaziland, and she comes from a farm in Illinois, but I just felt an instant understanding, connection with her, and which has gone on, and that really informed how we did the movie. And the whole thing was shot in 6 weeks, in 28 days. And on the days that I wasn't working, I would come in and have lunch. We had lunch together almost every day. So that's something that I haven't really experienced on another movie in quite the same way. So it was an enormous pleasure to do this.
Do you know how much time we have left?
1 more minute.
1 minute? Jesus, that's 2 minutes? Oh, never mind then. That's fine. It's never enough time for this type of stuff. I don't typically do this, but honestly, when I saw the film and then I knew you were in it, I really made a point of
Thank you.
Of wanting to. I think I must have requested you. I'm going to say that for the record.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a favor. Well,
Yes.
I always feel self-conscious that it's a tacky request, but two requests. One is, this is a podcast.
Okay.
I'm sure have you listened to any? Have you done any?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So sometimes you'll put it on and they'll say, this is Richard E. Grant, and you're listening to the name of my show. Would you do that?
Yep.
Because it would be amazing. And also, I was an enormous fan, and I did see also in the same theater, although without Rebecca Walkwitz, I saw How to Get Ahead in Business.
Oh, right.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's
Which I also adored. And many films since. What was the one where you played a dad? You were the dad. Samantha, was it? No.
Samantha Mathis. It's called Jack and Sarah.
Oh, what a sweet.
Yeah.
That was very sentimental, but she's a young babysitter, right? Or
Exactly.
the nanny.
Yeah.
But you
My
two
wife
fall
dies.
in love.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a sweet film too.
Oh,
but,
thank you.
I just remember very clearly your chemistry with her too.
Thank you.
It must be a singular talent to be able to just sort of create chemistry with so many people like that. I'm just like kissing his ass at this point. Sorry. I apologize.
And so I say, this is Richard E. Grant, and you're listening to...
Right. The name of my podcast is Filmwax Radio.
Okay.
Filmwax Radio. So whatever you want to say, it's
Okay.
open to you. You can say anything you want. Anything.
This is Richard E. Grant, and you're listening to Filmwax Radio. How lucky you are.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you. All right. That's it. And the other, I guess, would be maybe if we could do a picture.
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind terribly? No.
Of course we can.
And thank you, and good luck with Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which
Thank
is,
you very much.
and whatever else you're going to do.
Thank you.